Today we're going to talk about sin. Just sin, okay? So we have this pine cone on this branch. Now when I was little, I was trying to be a preacher. That's what I said I wanted to be when I grew up one day. And I would stand out here on these benches and talk about, I do the same sermon every day. So I would take this pine cone, any pine cone out here, and I'd be like, this is your sin. Throw it away. Then that was our lesson. And then we'd end it, with a closing worship song and repeat every day. This is your sin. Throw it away. Every day. So, I mean, really, for a kid, though, like, maybe as, Jesus tells us, to enter the kingdom of heaven, we need to become like children, innocent and pure. And, like, a lot of us in life feel like we have to grow up. Like, we grow up and we become adults, we kind of lose that spark for life, and we just feel like, there's no wonder in anything anymore. We get bored, we're just like, but if we were like children, now I'm not saying like, I know that we have to grow up some in our faith, like, if we start out, like Paul in like one of the books says, like with milk, and we have to digest it, like the word, before we take bigger steps, and sometimes we're still like babies in that. But in this case, I'm talking about what Jesus said about being children to enter the kingdom of heaven, like, I feel like sometimes we just need to take it back to the basics. As a child, we would just think, oh, you have sin, throw it away. Like, that's what I was thinking, and we need to actually think about that in our life. It's simple. Salvation in Jesus is as simple, as trusting Him with your life. And that seems easy. I know for us all the time we get caught up in life and it seems so hard to let go and trust the Lord. But like, that's really, it shouldn't be that hard, knowing He's got all of us, the whole world, the universe in His hands. So, I mean, yeah, we should be able to trust Him, but, as humans, we don't always do that. But back to the sin stuff. It's simple, like, we should just be able to throw sin away. Shouldn't we want to do that? No, why is sin something that we want to love to do? It's weird, but like, as humans, that's our nature, flesh versus the spirit. In the flesh, we want to do these things. Our flesh is going to always want to do it, even if we're saved. We're still battling this spiritual battle in our heads of flesh versus spirit. And we have to walk in the spirit in order to have true life. If you're walking in flesh, that's like being dead. Like, flesh isn't gonna last. You get old, your flesh wears out, you're gonna die. That's flesh. But in the spirit, you're gonna have eternal life. And walking in the flesh is gonna be continuing to hold this. It's like a burden. It's sin. You're not gonna be free on your journey, in life. If you're still holding on to your sin, it's something that you have to carry, and you're walking, and it's gonna get heavy, and you're gonna get tired of holding it. And like this pine cone, it'll poke you, like in the hand, like the whole time while you're doing that. So, but if you just throw it away, then you could just let go and let God control your walk, and you'd be totally free. But no, we go back and we pick up the sin and we continue to carry it again. And I don't know what, but as humans, that's what we do. But sometimes I just want to go back to my 8-year-old or 10-year-old self, however old I was, and remember the simplicity of just throw your sin away, get rid of it, and leave it there. Don't go pick it back up again, and that's just going to pull you farther away from your walk with God, and you're going to keep, it's like you might get tired at some point because you're holding it the whole time, holding on to this burden, and you're going to sit down on one of these benches, defeated, just be like, my God, I can't do this anymore, I'm giving up, and I'm still holding on to this, it's just too much, I'm just going to give up. But if we let it go, we could refresh our spirits, and we'd have a new view of life, and we'd get back up, take God's hand, and He's gonna walk us through, and we'd have peace in our lives if we would just let go of our sin. And not, we all do this, I do this, we pick back up sin, we pick back up sinful thoughts, we go back in it, and there are some days where you're better, and some days where you're not, probably because you picked it back up again. I'm not saying that's all the time, God lets us go through trials in order to, prune us sometimes, as I've been studying lately, but that's sometimes another case. Sometimes it's because we're ourselves doing it because we're walking in the flesh instead of in the spirit, and so yeah, we just need to let go of your sin. I'm in this with you, Jesus is in this with you, we're all trying to let go of our sin, and Jesus is going to help you do that, and we just need to let go and trust Him on this path. Get up from the bench, leave the sin there, and keep walking down the path. we've got a long road ahead of us, and you know, some of us, we're not that old, some of us are old, but we're all still on a journey, and it's not done until we are in heaven with Jesus, until we finish our time here on earth. So, you know, I'm not that old. I'm 18, almost 19, and yet, I don't know. Some of us have shorter journeys, some of us have longer. You know, we are not guaranteed any second in our lives, but until that last second comes, that's when we're done with the journey. But during this journey, we have to, and I advise you, please let go of the sin and follow Jesus, and I'm trying to too. We're all trying to, and I know the flesh is going to be tempting, but think of it in the long run. What is walking and living for the flesh actually doing? Nothing. Like, it's not, there's no point in it. It's not going to further the kingdom. You're not getting anywhere with it. You're going to be on that bench for your whole life if you keep walking in flesh, and you're just going to give up and give out. That is not what Jesus wants us to do. We have to let go of this sin, you know, just get rid of it for good, and then walk in the Spirit.